Hello, everyone. Hi,
Hello, Mateo.
Carlos.
Thank you. Hi, Andre. How are you? Pleasure to see you.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, let us just wait for everybody to join us so that we can start. All right. Okay. There we are. Fantastic. I think that would be everyone. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, dear students, for being here with me. It's quite an honor. I'm sorry. It's quite an honor for me to be with you. And today it's Friday, right? And of course, I guess that many of you are going to be going out then to I don't know, to make out with your friends and to have fun. So before we do that, and of course we have the opportunity to, I don't know, maybe go out, as I say, and enjoy our weekend. Let us finalize this wonderful week with magnificent performance, of your persons in the different tasks I have been delivering to you. And let us finalize and conclude all this with one more session for practices. And I think that this is going to be tremendously helpful for you to improve in the practical aspects of this task. All right. So let us start with that. Let me just share my screen here. And we're going to go directly to the practice. All right. So let me just open here this and here to modify this. Just a second. And we're going to practice. All right. Well, not task number 4, task number 3. That's ours for tonight's class. So here we are. Well, as I told you, we're going to be practicing for the 3rd task of the speaking section. So if you remember, this basically consists in a summary of a reading passage and also of listening passage. I know that all of you have been present in the last classes. Anyways, if there is somebody that maybe has, I don't know, missed or lost any particular class, I, of course, recommend you and encourage you very much to get into the link that the academic coordinator just sent to the WhatsApp group that contains all the classes we have had that are recorded and uploaded to the YouTube channel. And as well as I say, all these classes are going to be periodically and continually uploaded to the YouTube channel, so that just in case somebody misses a class, well, you can rewatch it and of course even yourself, right? Well, having said that, let us start. And well, here, as you can see, I have the first reading passage. Well, somebody else is joining. Let's wait for him.
Carlos,
yes.
do you mind to show us the template, the structure, just for a moment to have that in hand? It's because I miss my previous notes.
No, it's okay. Of course, Andre, why not?
Okay.
With pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, here you are. Well, for all of you dear students, here you have the template we have been discussing in the theoretical classes. This is the structure you should follow while responding to the question. Basically, it consists in 4 different steps. Here we have the first one. It is an introductory phrase that says, in the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of, and here you mention the overall idea, right, of the passage. Maybe, for example, it's about, as we saw, I think last time, Aboriginal people. So you say, in the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of Aboriginal people. And then you offer you very brief and, remember, general summary of the reading passage. Here, you shouldn't emphasize that much, nor you shouldn't mention a lot of details, because this is a part in the response that, well, seems to be not too relevant for the reviewer, so you shouldn't spend your precious time here. So after you mention that super general summary of the reading passage here, you move on to the second step, and you say likewise, right, lecture in the listening passage, and here you start mentioning the professor's lecture, right? Likewise, in the listening passage, we have listened to a professor discussing that Aboriginal people, etc., etc. And the 3rd and 4th step are basically reminders that you have to mention the specific points made in the lecture, and that you shouldn't leave out of your response any of these particular ideas and points made in the lecture with or in conjunction of their illustrations. That is to say, professors normally offer 2-3 points in their lectures, and they accompany those points with illustrations for their students to understand the topic way better. You have to also mention those illustrations and to make them very specific and detailed, right? So please make sure to include all that in your response. So here it is. I hope that you have taken some pictures or copied it on your sheet of paper. Fantastic. So here we have it, all right? And let's start, I think, now with the practice, all right? Oh, here we are. Awesome. So I'm gonna paste this reading passage, okay, to the chat box. Why not reading it from here? Well, because as you can see, I have to do this. I have to scroll down, and I think that is going to be a little bit uncomfortable because nobody reads at the same time, right? So better for you to have it here. Please look at the chat box. It's better for you to read it completely in your own velocity, right? Well, let me close this for a while, and then here we are. You remember you have 4 or 5 seconds in order to read these passages. So please, the first one, start reading it now. Well, there you are. Now, dear students, it's time for you to listen to the lecture on principled negotiation. Let's see what you can find. Let us listen, and remember, taking notes is of crucial importance, right? Let's listen.
Now, listen to a lecture on this topic in a business class.
You can see the effects of principled negotiation right at this university, actually. We have, a private company running our cafeteria, right? The university pays the company to buy food, hire employees, and serve meals to the students. When they drafted the contract outlining their expectations, the university and the food service company had to think about their future together and how they could keep students happy. Only if the students were satisfied would the relationship be able to continue smoothly. That was the common goal. So, at the company's request, the university agreed to fund training the cafeteria workers, precisely because they saw that training as being in the best interest of the students, even if the direct benefit was for the food service employees, and it was coming out of the university's pocket. And at the same time, the food service provider agreed to buy and serve only organic foods, ingredients that cost more but are healthier for student diners. If the food service had refused to buy those higher quality ingredients, it's more likely that students would have passed on meal plans, or worse, requested the university find a different service. Obviously, the company'd want to avoid that. In the long run, these kinds of decisions were in line with everybody's goals, especially you, the students.
Using the example of the university cafeteria, explain what is meant by principled negotiation.
Well, there you are. So let us start with the preparation round, if you agree, dear students. So how much time do you have in order to prepare your responses? Well, on a response, you have 30 seconds. If you remember, it's exactly the same quantity of time you had for the second task. And now that is translated right now into the 30 seconds for this task, all right? Well, start preparing your responses, all of you, now. Fantastic. Well, please now, dear students, who's going to be the first one in this case? Well, Andre, please, Andre, you're gonna help me, all right, with this response.
Okay.
So please start responding to the question now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of business. Business in general can be seen like sports. We have a win-lose scenario, but there is other approach, an important approach called principal negotiation, where both parts can collaborate instead of compete. Likewise, in the listening passage, we see a professor that told an important example regarding this principal negotiation in the university. He gives the example of the cafeteria, where the cafeteria get paid for the service, so the students can get satisfied. Given this, the cafeteria even get a training for the employees to have a good service. As a result of this collaboration, we have that the cafeteria serve organic food, which is a high cost, but better for the students.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Andre. Fantastic. Let us continue with Paula. Please, dear Paula, would you like to delight us with your response? Please start then responding to the question now.
Sorry, I'm new, so I'm just getting into it.
All right.
I don't know if
Oh,
I need it
I'm so sorry. I
okay.
didn't know. I had not noticed it. I'm so sorry. Okay, Paula, don't worry. You can just well, be a listener for today's class, and of course, when you even yourself with the class that I mentioned in the YouTube channel, of course, you're gonna be very much welcome to participate, right?
Okay. So in the reading passage, we've been immersed in the topic of business negotiation. Likewise, in the listening passage, they mention the benefits of principles of business negotiation. The first lecture's point was the importance of all parties being involved in the negotiation. And the second lecture's point, I just did it until that part.
It's okay. No, it's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. Thank you very much, Paula. It was very good until the point you completed it. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Well, let's continue with Mateo. Please, dear Mateo, you're going to follow up with a response. So please start responding to the question now.
The reading passage talks about business. This is about negotiations. It can be like a game, but it's not like winning or losing. It's more like to collaborate together to can make the both parts can make me happy. So the listening part talks about the example of the cafeteria. The cafeteria works with the university to make the students happy. So those both collaborate to make them happy. I don't know.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mateo. Very good. Very, very good. Let's continue with Santiago. Please, Santiago, we're going to be the next one. All right. So please start then delivering your response now.
In the reading passage, we have been immersed in the topic of principal negotiation. First of all, we have been immersed in an example of sport games, where win and lose scenarios were involved. Interest of all parties are involved in this principal negotiation. Likewise, in the listening passage, we observed by an example served by the professor that university and food company are involved in interests in all of the education scenario. University and food have interest in both. One wants the education and the other have the interest to serve in necessities. Those both serves to employees and provide organic foods, just for one, and that have a high cost. So that's an opportunity for the university.
Great. Thank you very much, Santiago. Just in time. Fantastic. Okay, let's continue with Jasmine. Please, Jasmine, you're going to continue, right?
Just before starting, I just Could you hear me well? I'm using a new headphones, so
Mhm.
could you
Yeah,
hear me
yeah, I
well?
can listen to you.
Okay.
Yeah, very well.
Nice.
Fantastic. All right, so please, hear Jasmine, and start as well with your response now.
Okay. In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic principal negotiation. That consists in business negotiation that serve the interests of all parties involved. This is different from the traditional business approach that could be a win-lose um, uh, approach. Likewise, in the listening part, they are mentioning of the effect of this approach. The teacher has given a clear example that involves the cafeteria. This business would be food company supplier and the university. The university is collaborating to find training for the best of the students, and the food company supplier agreed to give organic food that are healthy for students.
There you are. Awesome. Thank you very much, Jasmine. And let us finalize this round with Alexander, right? So please, here, Alexander, start responding to the question now.
In the regarding passage, do have been immersed in the topic of business negotiation. There's a traditional approach in that negotiations are similar to sports, that we have win-lose scenarios, but could have other perspectives in that do not function as a competing teams. Likewise, in the listening part, a professor put an example about a relation between a university and cafeteria. In that relation, as a way to maintain a long-term relation, it's necessary to be for the well-being of the students and serve healthy organic food from the happiness of the students, and promote to employees have a good service to maintain this contract for a long time. That's all.
Incredible. Thank you very much, Alexander. Well, as I told you last time we practiced this, I'm actually very much bothered because I don't have any any serious observation on your responses. And well, that of course results in me just saying congratulations to all of you. I think that your responses are fantastic. I don't have any observation on your responses. I think that all of them are excellent. My only recommendation would be, let us just, as I say, try to maybe to add a little bit more of I don't know how to describe it, but let's say try to add more life to the way you are pronouncing your English. I know, of course, in Spanish it's like we are not that much expressive. Nonetheless, when you listen to Americans, it's like every single word they say with a feeling of something, right? Like they have a very, very, I don't know, thriving and I don't know, compulsive way to speak. And I would say that if you transmit that energy as well into your speaking, would be amazing, right? But anyways, apart from that, it's just a detail, but fantastic. Let's continue. Well, let's go to another one. Here we have it. Pictographs. Well, not sure how many of you are, let's say, assiduous painters or advocates of art, but particularly to me, this is a, well, completely new topic, right? But anyways, let us read this topic starting now. Well, there you are. 45 seconds have happened and very rapidly, right? So let us now listen to a lecture on the same topic, right? In this case, pictographs. Let's see.
Now listen to a lecture in an art history class.
You might be surprised at how close the link between those ancient symbols and our current writing systems actually is. Let me show you some really neat examples from the Roman alphabet to illustrate. Take the letter A. It looks kind of like a triangle with 2 sticks underneath it, right? Well, those sticks used to actually be horns on a drawing of a bull. A started out as an ancient Egyptian pictograph of a bull's head. This naturally stood for the word bull or a similar creature, but over generations, the eyes and other details on the bull's head disappeared, until the head just looked like a triangle, and the horns just looked like sticks. Voila. The next example is a bit more distorted, but the letter E has a very similar story. This one started out as a stick figure, an image of a person praying. A line down the middle represented the legs, body, and head, and then 2 arms extended out on either side. But over time, the symbol was rotated. Rotation like that is pretty common historically, and a part of the image was lost. Now, the 3 horizontal strokes of the E, those are what's left of the 2 arms and the head of that person in prayer.
Using examples from the talk, explain how pictographs changed to become modern writing.
Well, if you notice, I actually confused myself because I thought it was about art. Nonetheless, if I realize it now, it's about linguistics, right? Anyways, quite difficult academic stuff that, of course, if it is not your area, you don't understand, right? Well, anyways, let us now start with the 30 seconds of preparation. So please, all of you, dear students, start preparing your responses for this question now. There you are. Okay, so who's gonna start? Dear Mateo, please could you be the first student to respond in this round? Hold me please with your response. Starting now.
I'm so sorry, I had a problem with my mic. Can we start
Yes.
again?
Oh, yes, certainly. Please let us start one more time. So please start responding now.
Okay. The reading passage talks about pictograms that are one of the most older systems of communication. These are like draws that try to represent other things. And in the listening part, we can hear some examples of pictograms. Like these are symbols like represent different things or on the real life. It's done.
All right. Thank you very much, dear Mateo. Fantastic. Dear Paula, would you like to delight us with your response in this one?
Okay.
right.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of pictographs, which are pictures that represent a word or an idea. Likewise, in the listening passage, they mention how symbols and different pictographs are used in the nowadays alphabet. And they mention also, for example, how by quitting some signs of the word of the pictures or the symbols, they look like the alphabet, especially the Greek alphabet, letters of the Greek alphabet.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good, dear Paula. Fantastic. There you are. Well, incredible. Let's continue with Santiago. Please, dear Santiago, you're going to be my next student responding, all right? So please start doing so now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed in the topic of pictograph. First of all, we have been immersed about pictograph, saying that this is a reproduction of words and abstract context. Archaeologians discovers this before 3000 before Christ, and the reason of that is that abstract concepts were represented by pictograph. Likewise, in the listening passage, we observe that the professor says that symbols are examples of an alphabet, which a lot of examples like Egyptian culturism and other cultures. By otherwise, symbolisms and the pictograph are rotative along the long time ago.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Santiago. There you are. Let's continue with Jasmine. Jasmine, you're going to continue, right? So please, dear Jasmine, start responding to the question now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of pictograph. These are very simple pictures that represent a word or ideas. It is believed is the earliest known form of writing. Nowadays, this has become the base of our writing system. In the listen passage, the teacher is confirmed that there is a strong relationship between the modern writing and pictograph. She has provided two examples, letter I and letter E. With the letter E, in the beginning was likely a human body that has a head and body. That symbol, after that symbol was rotated and is what we now. It's a similar story with the letter I.
All right. Thank you very much, Jasmine. There you are. Let's continue with Alexander. Please, dear Alexander, start responding to the question now.
In the reading passage, we have introduced on the topic of pictographs. Pictographs are pictures that represent a way to represent a word or idea. Pictographs have been discovered by archaeologists like 3000 before Christ in different cultures like Mesopotamia, Egypt, also China and America. That represents physical objects. At the start represent physical objects and later represent abstract concepts or phonetic concepts. And is the start of the modern writing systems. Like was in the listening part, talks about that change. As an example, the letter A that starts as a boss head. Another letter is going to losing characteristics like eyes, and it becomes the letter A that we know today.
Great. Thank you very much, Alexander. There you are. And let us finalize with Andre. Please, dear Andre, start delivering your response for the question now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of pictograph. Pictograph usually represents a work or an idea. Studies have shown that they start mostly on Egypt and Mesopotamia, and they have found spread all over the world. These pictographs transform from nouns to phonetics. In the lecture, we found out that ancients and writings are very close. They give us two important examples, starting with the letter A. The letter A is like a triangle and has its origins on representing a bull's head in Egypt. Another example that we have is the letter E that shows an stick figure, let's say a person. Over the time, the symbol was rotated, only left in two arms and a head. That's it.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Andrew. Wonderful. All right, there you are. So let us give some personalized feedback to all of you. So Mateo, fantastic response. I found that to be very much compelling and prolific summary. My only little observation would be with regard to how you expressed like the most oldest, right? Because when you say oldest, it's like in the same word, you are including the expression el más viejo, right? So it's not necessary to add the most oldest or the most older, but whenever you want to express something that is the maximum in the scale of age, it is sufficient to say the oldest, right? But fantastic with regard to the rest. Incredible. Paula, very good. I am very much surprised and content actually with your performance, even when you say you are new, right? So I just want to see how you're going to be doing these exercises later on when you, even yourself, and when you continue listening to the theoretical classes. Very good. I don't have any particular observation apart, of course, from encouraging you to continue practicing more to understand the overall idea of the passage and to perfect that part. But very good. Santiago, as well, fantastic summary, well effective, and in this case, I think that the transitions were very smooth. Only observation, very little, with regard to the pronunciation of the word archaeologists. I'm gonna repeat it, archaeologists, right? Like archaeologists. That would be the pronunciation, archaeologists, right? But anyways, fantastic. Apart from that, Jasmine, prolific, very good, very much natural, accurate summary, just in time, very good. Alexander as well. I like how you are improving in the matter of delivering it without blockouts, or excuse me, without blockouts. Incredible. And the only word that I noticed maybe a little bit wrongly pronounced, excuse me, would be introduced. When you say, right, we have been introduced, but it is just necessary to say introduced, right? Just adding that D sound at the introduced word, introduced, but that's all. Fantastic. Apart from that, and Andre, as always, prolific, compelling, fantastic, very good. There you are. Okay, so as you can see, you're improving very much. I'm very, very content with your performances. Very good. Well, let's continue. All right. Let's go with that third one. Oh, sorry. Let's see what we find in this one. Oh, altruism in animals. Okay, we're going to see altruism in animals. Well, you know what to do. Here you have. And let us start reading now. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was not able to find out my microphone. Well, there you are. Let's listen now to the topic on altruism in animals, delivered by a professor in this area. Well, let's see what he has to say.
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you've just read about.
The idea that altruism is a uniquely human characteristic that cannot be found in nature might be popular among certain philosophers, but it really has. Actually, altruism is relatively common in the animal kingdom. Well, for example, in certain families of squirrels, when a predator, say like a fox, comes around, The squirrels are known to shriek out to warn their family members about the danger, even if the noise makes them targets for the predator. Similarly, when a herd of, say, wildebeests is attacked, well, stronger members of the pack will try to trample the threat rather than let the young and weak get picked off, even if this subjects them to danger. So what is the reason for all of this? Evolutionarily speaking, it seems like a puzzle, right? I mean, why would evolution favor the development of altruistic behaviors that might endanger individual life? Well, the answer is it's a bit complicated, but essentially the answer is that by protecting the entire community, including several relatives, the altruistic animal ensures that the community's genes as a whole can still be passed on. Well, in other words, if a single squirrel dies after, say, shrieking at a fox, but the entire community is spared, well, that means that from a collective perspective, the community's fitness is increased by having altruistic behaviors associated with its members.
Using the points and examples given in the lecture, explain how altruism may be a beneficial characteristic for some animals.
All right, well, for those of you who are very much assiduous readers of, well, let's say scientific papers on Darwin's evolutionary theory, I guess you found this lecture to be very much interesting, right? Well, apart from that, let's move on to the 30 seconds of preparation, right? Here we are. Well, let us start with this, dear students. Let's start designing your responses now. Great. Well, it's time for us to move. Let's start. Well, let's start here. So please, dear Alexander, you're going to start, right, with this new round of responses. So please turn on your microphone and start delivering your response for this question now.
The reading passage we have been introduced to the topic of altruism animals. That's a selfishly behavior urge to help to other animal related to their own species. This behavior is more related to the human behavior, but there's a lot of proofs that a lot of animals have also an altruism behavior. Likewise, in the listening part, a professor talks about that altruism it's usually related to the human characteristic about philosophers and other professionals. But there's a common in the animal kingdom behavior. Like the squirrels that used to protect to other. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much, Alexander. Very good. Dear Mateo, please, we're going to continue. All right. So please start responding to the question now.
Okay. The reading passage talks about the altruism in animal kingdom. It's really interesting because we sometimes think that it only exists in the humans, but it can be present in a lot of animals. In the listening part, we've been immersed in a lot of examples of how can the strongest member of the community can save the weakest. And this can be for save the community and save the next generation and the genes of the community. It's
Great. Thank you very much, Mateo. Good. There you are. Now, please, hear Jasmine. You're going to continue, right? Please start sharing with us your response now.
In the written passage, we've been immersed into the topic of altruism in animals. Altruism in general refers to the urge selflessly help others even at great personal cost. It exists in many species. Likewise, in the listening passage, the teacher points out that there is a common philosophical belief that altruism is only for humans. However, this exists and it's really common in the animal kingdom. The teacher has provided 2 examples. For example, a squirrel. They are known to seek out to protect the other, and also wild beasts to trump even if they are suggested to sacrifice themselves. In the end, altruism in animals, they protect the genes as a group, as a whole, and not as individuals.
Well, great. There you are, dear Jasmine. Fantastic. Dear Mateo, you're going to continue, right? Oh, I'm sorry, you responded already. Santiago, I meant. All right, dear Santiago, you're going to start with a response, please, now.
In the reading passage, we have been immersed in the topic of altruism in animals. First of all, we observed that we are carried about other species. Animals involved in that activity too. Likewise, in the listening part, we observe that we can talk about that this is a characteristic of humanity and philosophy, but animals evolved in that too, because the evolution do that. Squirrels is an example that the professor established, that when they observe a predator, they show that they are in danger to all the collective. So in the evolution of the animals, we can talk that this is a collective perspective of danger.
Incredible. Thank you very much, Santiago. Fantastic. Dear Andre, you're going to continue, okay? So please start responding to the question now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed in the topic of altruism in animals. Altruism is basically the action of help others by own decision without a seek of benefit. Altruism also exists in other species. As surprising it sounds, we usually think they only survive. Likewise, in the listening passage, we are told that altruism begins the belief that only functions in humans from the philosophic perspective, but there are some animals that also present altruism. For example, squirrels, that they warn their family members about dangers. This happens also in other species. Evolution favors altruism. It's complicated to say why, but by practicing this behavior in the community, this helps to protect the community and to spread these kind of genes.
Great, thank you very much. Andre?
Thank you.
And let's finalize with Mateo. Dear Mateo, please, you're going to be closing this round, so start doing it now.
Sorry, I did it before.
Oh, you did it? I'm so sorry. I guess that your... Oh, yes, Paula. It's just I was able to see Mateo's profile in the bottom, but now he's at the top. That's the reason why he... All right, anyways, Paula, please, you're going to start, okay? So please start doing so now.
Okay. In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of altruism in animals, which have been considered an idea that can be found in the animal kingdom, only in humanity. Likewise, in the listening passage, the teacher gives example of altruism in animals, like squirrels. When foxes are near, they warn about a coming danger to the community. This is important for evolutionary purpose because when animals are altruist, they tend to protect their genes and the genes of the community and are able to pass them on to the future generations.
Great, very good. Thank you very much, dear Paula. Well, there we are. So let us just finalize with some brief commentaries. Fantastic for all of you. Alexander, my only observation, very little by the way, but because the response was phenomenal, I would say that it would be with regard to the pronunciation of the word altruism, right? Altruism, altruism, like, you know, very American pronunciation, right? Altruism, but anyways. And I guess that the reason why in this case you didn't manage to include your entire response in the 1 minute you had for presenting it was because you just spent too much time in the reading passage. That is to say, when you were summarizing that part, you spent, I would say, too much there. And of course, that didn't give you or didn't allow you to spend more time in what should actually be your priority. That is, as I say, the listening, right? But of course, this is easily solvable. Try to always, as I say, spend more time, emphasize your response on the listening part, right? And just making a very brief and general summary of the reading passage. But apart from that, fantastic, very good. Mateo, I think that the response was also very good. Maybe my only recommendation would be to try to mention the specific illustrations that the professors also offer to their students, because if you mention, for example, well, the overall topic of the lecture, well, yes, the professor talked about some examples of this, but mentioning them, I would say, is important, right? The squirrels and also foxes. I would say that would be very good, okay? But apart from that, fantastic. Jasmine, no commentaries, very, very good response. The same for Santiago, fantastic, very, very good response. Andrea as well, as always, tremendously good. And for our dear Paula, just a little recommendation as well, the pronunciation of the word altruism, like apart from that, fantastic, like as always, very good. All right, let's go and practice with one more example. Don't want to send you home without one more, right? So let us start, okay, with our last practice. Okay, here we have the next. Let's go. All right, let's see what you can say about this one. I'm gonna paste it here in the chat box for all of you to read it, okay? So please look at the chat box and let us read this passage using this 4 or 5 seconds now. There you are. Okay, let us go with the lecture on the same topic.
Now listen to part of a lecture from a class on ancient history.
Climate change hasn't always been seen as such a major factor on how we've progressed, how culture has developed, but more and more we're finding that it does play a major role. Let's take the example of Egypt. The country today is harshly divided between the Sahara Desert, where basically nothing grows, and the area around the Nile River Valley, which is still one of the most fertile places on the whole planet. But the thing is, we're now discovering that the landscape of Egypt was not always divided in that way. Instead, until the 4th millennium BCE, the desert of Egypt was actually a rich, prosperous area of fields and farmable meadows. There were societies living away from the Nile, successfully farming or getting by in a place that would later be completely uninhabitable. But then, of course, the climate changed and the Sahara Desert formed. That meant people were forced to move to the Nile Valley to survive, because there were no more fields to cultivate or animals to hunt. So right, you can imagine their culture had to adapt as they moved to a new area, a new climate. But it doesn't stop there. The Nile Valley was already settled. So these newcomers fleeing the desert, they evidently fought the people already living in the valley. And we see that from the construction of these giant defensive walls for the first time in history. So right, people joined together behind these walls and formed cities to protect themselves. This was a large interaction between communities, deeply affecting the local culture. The changing landscape was at the heart of that change.
Explain how the lecturer's claims give a concrete example of climate change's effect on culture.
There you are. Well, let us start with the last 30 seconds of preparation now. Well, great. So Mateo, you're going to start right with this one. Please start responding to the question now.
Okay, the reading passage talks about the climatic change. This is not a new modern phenomenon. This is something that happened since a lot of time ago. And it can affect the cultures and how people can live in their lands. The listening part talks about the example of Egypt, that is now near to the Sahara Desert. But a long time ago, it wasn't like that. It was like another culture living near to the Nile River, but the climatic change happened, and other cultures were forced to abandon this earth, and it could happen in a lot of times. Oh, my time has done.
Yes, thank you very much, Mateo. Very good.
Carlos,
So, yes, Andre?
do you mind if I go next? It's because I need to leave because I have an appointment. So
Yeah, why not? Please, Andre.
okay, thank you very much.
Start
I'm sorry.
responding. No, my pleasure. No, don't worry. So start responding now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of climate change. We often think that climate change is a modern phenomenon, but these always occur and have big repercussions on humanity, specifically over productivity and fertility. Today, many professionals are working together to go further these studies. Climate change, we have seen in the listening passage, that is a major factor on development. For example, in the Egypt, they have two important sectors, the Nile River and a desert. But this was not always like this division. But after climate change, many families have to move from previous places that they work on. So culture have to adapt. They also have been construction of walls for protection because the interaction between societies were affected.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Andre. Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Feel free to leave the class if you are very much hurry up or hurry,
Yeah.
excuse me, dear Andre, okay?
A little bit. Thank you very much, Carlos, and well, goodbye to everyone.
Thank you very much. My pleasure, Andre. All right. Let's continue with Paula. Please, here, Paula. Start responding to the question now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of how climate change is not a modern phenomenon and how the different variations in weather have been involved in the world's culture and way of living of the different communities. Likewise, in the listening passage, they talk about how climate change has played a major role in culture, and it provides the example of Egypt and its land, how it was a desert and was different before becoming inhabitable, and the land was full of fields, fertile land, and civilizations living there. And after this, people had to search for other places to live and fought against each other in order to survive because of the different difficulties they had after it became inhabitable.
There you are. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Paula. Let's continue with Santiago. You're going to be the next one, all right? So please, your Santiago, start responding now.
In the reading passage, we have been immersed in the topic of climate change. First of all, it is not a modern phenomenon. It is a consequence about the disturbing the long time we have passed. It was the responsible of greatest revolutions, and now it's a question about how will be the fertility of the land. Likewise, in the listening part, we observe that now we are finding that this is a consequential and we were wrong in the whole idea that the landscape is rich and stable on the earth. That was not always the same. The desert was actually rich and it was fertile. And now the Sahara is the greatest desert in the world. We're moving to a new era and we are talking about a new commerce. For example, we talk about whales.
All right. Thank you very much, Santiago. Let's continue with Jasmine. Please, your Jasmine, you're going to follow up, right? Start responding now.
In the reading pages, we've been immersed into the topic of climate change. It says that it's not a modern phenomenon. Today, the investigation about climate change is based on the repercussion in our world. Likewise, in the listening passage, mentioned that climate change plays a big role and we mustn't take it lightly. For example, Egypt. We have this Sahara Desert in which there is not life, but before that, it was not divided in that way. Before a certain time, it was green and full of productivity, but after some climate change, the people there, they had to move because there was no animals and the plants couldn't grow up there. Then we appear with the construction of pyramids.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jasmine. Alexander, please, you're going to continue, all right? Please start doing so now.
In the reading passage, we have been immersed in the climate change that is not a modern phenomenon. So that variations in change are historically responsible about long-term greatest transformations in human cultures and also in the entire planet. Likewise, in the listening passage, we hear about the Egypt. Actually, Egypt is near to the Sahara Desert and the Nile Valley, that also today is considered one of the fertile areas in all the planet. Not always be that way. Before the Nile Valley used to be a completely fertile area, but with the climate change, the Nile Valley start to change the ecosystem, and also more of the humans forced to abandon more of the sectors Nile Valley, and that's the start of the series, was to protect the resources. That's all.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Alexander. And let us finalize with our dear Angel. Please, Angel, start responding to the question now.
To begin, in the reading passage, it's mentioned that climate change is not a modern phenomenon, and it says that variation in the weather patterns and long-term change of the environment were responsibility for some of the greatest revolution in the world. On the other hand, in the listening in an ancient history class, and some points is mentioned about the climate change. For example, the first point is in the ancient Egypt, the culture was developed around the climate. For example, nowadays, Egypt is near to a hard desert and nothing grows. In the past, that area was a successful farming area. So climate change, we can say climate change shapes the landscape. Also, climate change reshape the commerce and the roads and influence how the people interact. That's all.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Angel. All right. Well, so as a general commentary for all of you, I'm very much content and very much satisfied with your performances during this week. I know that it has been a wonderful first week of classes, and I think that your progress is honestly admirable. I am very much, as I say, surprised and amazed at how your responses have been tremendously well planned, thought, and also very much efficient when coming to, let's say, an evaluation of them. So as I say, I'm very much, I'm very much happy, and I'm looking forward to see what you can do later when we discuss the other tasks and sections in the exam. All right. So before we stop, please don't go. I need to take your assistance and also have a gift for you. If you have free time during your weekend, please serve yourself of this material that I was preparing earlier. It's a material that summarizes what we have been discussing this week, and it also gives you some free resources for you to practice it in your free time. All right. Great. So let me stop here.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Let me stop sharing here my screen. And please, dear students, help me with the traditional poll that we always feel that you help me a lot by feeling it positively. All right. So please help me with that as I take your assistance. All right. Well, let's go. Let's see where you are. Okay. So it's here present. Yeah. Is here present Jasmine Azucena?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you very much, Jasmine. What about Reyes Andrego? Andrea was here. Just gonna put him present. Paula Andrea Coronel.
Present.
Thank you very much, Paula. Fantastic. What about Andrea Mercedes? Andrea was not here today. What about Alexander David?
Present.
Thank you very much, Alexander. What about Angel Intriago?
Present.
Thank you very much, your Angel. What about Mateo Antesana?
I'm present.
Thank you very much, Mateo. What about Sergio Santiago?
Present.
Thank you very much, your Sergio. What about Sara? Yeah, Sara was not here tonight. And finally, Kevin Alcides. All right, she was not also here. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, your students. I think that it has been a wonderful class. And as I see, and I can perceive from you, your performance will just get better. So I am looking forward to see that. And thank you very much for your time. All right, see you next week.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.